I got some dirty shit to pick up at the dry clean. I got a tidy bitch to pick up, I got less Celine. Shady hop.
Pretty excited, we got mail. More than likely the rack and pinion is what we're hoping for. Hopefully it's not anything inappropriate. But we'll see. I went to the scrap yard and got the collapsible steering column out of the car. Looks like it's actually going to clear and line up pretty good. So we're going to be ready to go with this rack and pinion hopefully. And this is actually a real safe thing to have in here too, because it's collapsible. So it'll be mounted somewhere around there. And if you ever have a front end impact, that rack and pinion will just go like this and collapse into there instead of moving the entire steering wheel and everything into your face, right? So let's do a little unboxing here. Let's see what this looks like. See how that works. So there's bolt holes inside of there. Grab onto it and move it back and forth. It's going to be a little bit of a tricky install to make this work, but we shall figure it out. Definitely. But yeah, super nice piece. This is a replica, I'm pretty sure, of the MP center load product. But I just got it on eBay. It's real nice billet, heavy duty, no worries. So next video we'll probably start lining this up in the chassis and seeing how it works. That'll be it for now. Yesterday when I got home from work, I put a little bracket on the rack here, just like that, notched it out, goes on there. And now I'll block it up with some wood in here where it needs to go. Get it all lined up, and yeah, and then we'll get her tacked in. Hopefully this all works out. It was I was feeling it around in there yesterday, seeing where it'll go and stuff, and it's gonna be tight, very tight, to prevent the brakes from hitting it going back, and also to keep the rod out of this bias control there. It's got to either stay low like that or go up above it, but I'm pretty sure I've got it figured out here. Yeah, so let's start getting that all lined up, and then I'll show you what we're going to do for mounting. People are probably going to remind me this is a front steer rack and pinion. You got to watch what you're buying here, because there's different types. Front steer, when you turn this knob, the actual slide goes the opposite way of what you'd want it to be on a rear steer like this. As you can see, rear steer means your tie rods hook up on the back of your spindles. Front steer, it hooks up on the front. So you'd want your rack to move the opposite way, right? But I was hanging mine in here just the way that I was setting it up. I had the plan of setting it up. It works out really well using a front steer, hanging it. Whereas if I would have yeah, if I put it the right way, like that, that's how it's supposed to go, right side up, and see, that wouldn't work right for me. But if I hang it in here, it gives me way better access to that grease nipple and everything. I just like this design like that set up. And then I'll hang it, and now it turns the right way I need it to. So we got that all lined up. Start putting it in, and I have tie rods too, so we'll be able to get some tie rods hooked up, and the front end won't go all floppy on us when I start going to move it. I'm still waiting on the 36 spline adapter that I gotta weld onto the end of this, adjust the steering shaft a little bit, because this is a a 36 spline 5/8. A little bit tricky to find out of a OEM car. If you guys know anything at a scrapyard that has a 5/8 36 spline, let me know, because they're handy to have, and I can't find them out of basically anything, really. I've tried a couple things now. Oh, dick. The keys for our van fell out under there. We've been looking for that for so long. Holy. That's funny. I'll keep those in my pocket when I'm back, but yeah. So let's get to work. So I got it figured out basically where it's gonna go, and that's what we're looking at. That angle iron you're looking at the front's just a shim. The only mount so far is the one that we already talked about. So as you can see, it's pretty well centered in there. It's in line with our tie rods, with our outer tie rod hookups here. Everything's basically in line with each other, which is good. And I was able to pull the rack back enough that our brake pedal doesn't hit it, and our brake pedal also clears our steering shaft, so everything should work out pretty good there. Now my next step, I'm gonna pull the proportioning valve out because it's a little bit in our way, and then when we do these mounts here coming up for this, it'll give us somewhere to mount the proportioning valve too, and actually get the brake lines properly configured, because nothing else will be going up there. So I'll get the brake lines all unhooked and move it out of our way, and then we'll start making some mounts for that. Rack's mounted up in there now, just tacked, but I'll get some welds on it once I'm pretty pleased. Well, once I have all the tie rods hooked up and I know that this is all gonna work right. But yeah, it's floating in there, it hangs, which is pretty cool. Yeah, so now tie rods. I don't have any left-hand taps or anything, but I do have these tie rods off an old Can-Am that I had there. So I'm gonna cut off the left-hand side of it and use left-hand thread tie rods and the threaded ends there, and I'll weld them into my tie rods. And then I have right-hand thread rod ends for the outside that are gonna go inside there. So I'll go grab those rod ends. I'll try to figure out what we're going to be using here. And then the way this rack and pinion works is, I liked it for this reason. It's somewhat universal, because you unbolt these and you bolt on your own plate with your own width of eye to eye, like eyelet length. Because that's what's important about your rack and pinion too, for size wise, is how wide those eyelets are apart. It's going to affect your geometry and bump steer. If you have eyelets that come out way past where your A-arms mount, then you're gonna have issues with bump steer for sure. That's a guaranteed. If you just do some simple Google research on suspension geometry and IFS and independent front suspension, you'll learn a lot very quickly on how a lot of this stuff works and how to avoid huge issues very simply with, like, just using these formulas, you know. It'll save you a lot of issues. So yeah, don't be afraid to do your Google research way beyond what these plans tell you, because there's so much more to learn than what's just in these plans. The plans honestly don't really teach you how to build this in a way. Like, they teach you how to build the chassis, but I had to talk to so many people and do research for nights and nights to learn a lot of this stuff, unless you already have prior knowledge on wiring a motorcycle engine and all of this stuff. But like I said, just a learning curve. This has been a lot of fun. But I'll go get those parts and we'll start on some tie rods. We got those clearance issues sorted out. I flipped the angle iron upside down, and then those rods are getting mounted upside down like that, and it should sort everything out and be good. Mind you, this suspension's gonna sag a little bit when you put weight on this, so it'll help this get its full angle, but it's at max angle and reach is sagging, so it might put a little bit of pressure on it when you jack the buggy up, but we'll see. Hopefully that works out. Yeah, so I got those on both ends, right? And then I'm gonna chop off the left-hand threaded part of this, weld a big 5/8 nut onto it, around the outside, and then weld the 5/8 nut into some 3/4 inch pipe. So these tie rods are going to be a little bit overkill, but it's all that I got that's round, smallest round thing I got. I got some, actually, I do still have some 5/8 rod. That's pretty beefy and about the same weight, really. Wonder if I can get away with using this. Yeah, actually, I may be able to. If I turn down, because this is a 5/8 nut, so if I turn that down a little bit and stick it on there, halfway in between, it should center in between the two of these. Yeah, that might work out alright. We'll see if that works. Just think about that. It might look a little bit ridiculous, but actually no, yeah, we're gonna give that a try. Maybe we'll see what I got. I might go look around for some more material too. See what I can find. Alright, so I dropped the weight down onto, well, actually first I got both tie rods tacked together and put on each side, and their work kept me fairly aligned. And when I dropped it down and put the weight on it finally, it gave me the clearance in here on each side, so we're nice and loose in there. So yeah, I think this might actually work out pretty well. We're fairly in line, which is nice. Now all we'll have to do is test it and see, and once I get that 5/8 coupling, and we need longer bolts and the spacers made for that, and this thing should be steering. So it's a pretty good successful day. I might finish welding up these before we call it a day. I'll weld up all the mounts and weld up the tie rods, but I still don't know if I'm gonna do that yet until I have everything finalized here and I can drop it a couple times, check for bump steer and see how it's working, right? So yeah, that'll probably be it for today's video. I'll get in there and get editing, get this out to you guys. Actually no, I'll probably clean up, and yeah, I'm gonna do a little bit more work now that I think about it. Probably get these brake lines resorted out and the proportioning valve remounted somewhere in there. But yeah, we're making, my cost on this was $20 on the Epas unit. You can get this at any Saturn View or Chevy Equinox at your scrapyard, and usually for very cheap because there's about 1,000 of them sitting there. So you can get yourself one of those, and then you need the controller, which is this little black box you get on eBay for 20 bucks. So we're $40 there, and $140 for the rack and pinion on eBay. So all in, that was 180 bucks I spent here on that steering. Super cheap. And I guess the rod ends were 20 bucks a piece. So that's another 40. So $220 all in. I was on that steering setup, which is so cheap for an electronic power steering assembly. Still don't know if it's gonna work as great as it should, but hopefully. Alright guys, so I just finished up some welding and put the welder away. I put a couple more bigger welds on here, just that way when I do some testing it doesn't break, because it is gonna have quite a bit of strain put on it, but like, it is strong. I could pick the buggy up by that right now if I wanted to, so it's certainly strong and not going anywhere. I put a little tab on here for the proportioning valve, so now I decided that's where the proportioning valve is gonna go. So I'm going to rerun these brake lines. I've done these brake lines like 4 times now, but so I'm gonna do them for hopefully the last time and run them nicely in the 2 inputs here, and run the output back to the back again, and we should be pretty good to go. We got enough slack in those lines I was checking. It's looking pretty good. So I'll get the flare tool out and reflare these lines and make them look all pretty again. And then that'll probably be it for today's video. Definitely did well. I said I was going to be done a while ago, but I kept going doing that tab there for the proportioning valve. Ow. Yeah. Right, guys. First good rainfall in the hut here. It's working. Sorta. It's gonna build up water here pretty bad, so I'm gonna be hanging out in here working anyway. Like I said, we're just finishing up the brake lines. I just ate some dinner and now I'm gonna start finishing these up. And then that'll be it for today, but I thought I'd show ya. It's sealed, it's not letting any water in, so that's good. This thing's finally protected.